Just to let you know, if you haven't seen Tengen X Kyojo, Kyojo listener, you're in for a real one because there's a little something in here. You hummed a tune as you cheerfully and carefully placed the delicate pink petals into the kettle that hung over the urn, the sweet scent of the cherry blossoms filling the air as you boiled water. The flickering lights from the flames cast a warm, inviting glow across the tatami mat floor of the quinta room. The serene ritual of brewing tea was something that had become a repeat tradition for you. Shinjiro had left not too long ago, saying he had something important he needed to do, and Senjiro had gone to get some rest. A nursery had been prepared for Taiyu adjacent to Kojiro's room so that you could tend to him without disturbing your husband. Once the tea was ready, you poured it into a small chromatic cup, its side painted with ornate floral patterns. You took a sip, feeling the warm, sweet liquid soothe your nerves. It was like these moments that reminded you of home, the quiet evenings that you spent with Oba-chan. The sun was setting, painting the sky a canvas of fiery reds and oranges. You took a moment to appreciate the view from the window. It reminded you of the warmth Kojiro would give you when he'd wrap his arms around you, whispering sweet nothings into your ear. You couldn't help but feel a pang of longing as you stared at the horizon. You didn't know when Kojiro would open his eyes again. Each day was a silent battle, a tug-of-war between hope and doubt. You could only wait and pray he'd wake up. After finishing your tea, you walked back towards Kojiro's room, the soft light of the setting sun casting long shadows across the wooden floor. Reaching his room, you noticed the door was slightly ajar, and heard a faint voice speaking in hushed tones. Peeking inside, you saw Tengen standing by Kojiro's bedside. He was donning his usual demon slaying get-up, including those two large hooked Nichiren blades. He expressed was a mixture of serenity and determination as he looked at Kojiro. "I've got a mission today, Kojiro," he said, his eyes filled with cantermus. "Wish me luck." You stepped into the room, and he immediately turned to you. "Oh, hey, Ian," he greeted with a warm smile. "How's it going?" "Fine," you replied with a wistful smile. "And the baby?" he asked, glancing at Taiyo wrapped snugly in the, I'm going to butcher this word, but opium against your back. "He's doing great. I just fed him not too long ago, and now he's back sound asleep," you replied, walking closer. "He's looking more and more like his dad every day." Tengen chuckled softly, his eyes lingering on the sleeping baby for a moment before turning back to you. "I heard Shinjiro-sama was in here earlier," he said, his tone serious once more. "Yeah, he was. I was surprised when he came by, considering he's been aloof for so long," you replied, your voice filled with a mix of wonder and relief. "But he's changed. He seems genuinely remorse for his past behavior." Tengen nodded thoughtfully. "Figures. After what happened to Kojiro, I suspect he's had quite the wake-up call." Yeah, you nodded. "How are you holding up?" Tengen's question pierced the quiet room, and you paused, unsure of how to respond. The loss of Oba-chan was still a fresh wound, one that had begun to hang like a scar over. "I'm managing," you finally replied. "It's hard, but I know she's in a better place." Tengen's expression grew solemn as he nodded. "Lady Fukuwa was a brave and selfless woman," he said, his voice heavy with respect. "Her sacrifice was not in vain. Kojiro is alive because of her, and I'm truthfully grateful." He turned to you and bows, giving you a fist-to-palm salute, or, I'm gonna butcher this word, the gonshu, a traditional Chinese ceremony gesture of respect. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick and sincere. You blush, feeling a bit overwhelmed by his gesture. Tengen, you stuttered. Please, there is no need for such formalities. Oba-chan did what she had to do in order to save Ko's life. Yet, Tengen wanted to show his respect regardless. Kojo was indeed his best friend, almost akin to a brother, and you deserve every ounce of respect he gave you. He then straightens up with a sigh. Still, Kojo is a good man, the best actually, and I am forever indebted to her and to you. Tengen said, his eyes earnest. You're both so beautiful. Your face was on fire at this point, so much so that it felt like you were about to substantially combust. Usually Tengen's flamboyancy was something you'd find amusing, but this was just a bit too much, especially considering the gravity of the situation. He's been boastful, if not a bit egotistic, when it comes to his own capabilities, often calling himself a god of flashiness or festivals. Inwardly, you found his superior complex annoying. But today, his words hit differently. They were genuine, coming from a place of true admiration. It's Tengen-sama, quit it. You're making me blush. Tengen's smile grew even wider at your flustered state. Oh, come on now, Yin, he said, his eyes gleaming with mischief. I'm just speaking the truth. After all, I am the god of flashiness. He boasts, his flamboyant nature shining through each and every sober atmosphere. Therefore, I see you as my equals, he added with a dramatic flourish, his smile not very wavering. There it is. And suddenly you're back. You deadpanned, the moment of solemnity dismissed, like the steams rising with a teacup. Way to ruin your image right away. Tengen chuckles, a deep, rich sound that fills the room with warmth. Speaking of flamboyance, I hear you have a fourth wife, you say in anticipation. Immediately the smile is wiped from his face, and he stammers away. What fourth wife? Who said anything about a fourth wife? He forged innocence. Well, more like ignorance. But you were not fooled, as you could clearly see the blush creeping up his neck, betraying his words. Come now, you're not fooling me. Suma told everything, you said with a knowing smile. Tengen groans at these face palms. Suma, it was supposed to be a secret. He sighs heavily. Yes, I have a fourth wife. At least, not yet anyways. You opened your mouth to speak, only for him to hold up a hand, silencing you. And before you say anything, no, I'm not cheating on Suma, Maki, or Hinatsuru. We already discussed it through, he corrects. And yes, she already knows that I am married and I have 3 wives, he added, watching your expression. You playfully swat away his hand. You dum-dum. I was going to ask you how many women you can have, you grumbled. 3 is my clan's traditional number, he began, his voice low and comparable. But 6 can also be acceptable. Your eyes widen at surprise at Tengen's revelation about his family's polyamorous tradition. 6? Indeed, he said with a nod, his smile unwavering. But don't worry. I have no plans on filling up all my slots, he assures you. Wait, don't tell me your father actually had 6 wives. Tengen snorts. Nah, faster at 3, he said, waving his hand dismissively. Though I never actually knew which one was my mother. They all raised me and my siblings simultaneously. You perked up at this. How ignorant by his family's bizarre dynamics. So, how many children were there in total? Including me. 9. Tengen answered. Perhaps even more if you are counting those who came before I was born, he said with a casual that believed the gravity of his words. He then sighs dramatically. But who the hell's keeping count anyways? He added, sounding like he couldn't give a fuck. No, it's just me and my younger brother since everyone else is dead. Dead? Dead how? You asked, your voice tentative, the sudden revelation of his family's history casting a brief shadow over the light-hearted conversation. Tengen's expression gradually turned serious, his vibrant purplish red eyes darkening slightly as he stared at you. You are going to wish 9 out of the 10 times you hadn't asked that, because he's about to tell you will make you question all human life. 3 of my siblings didn't make it through our father's training, he began, the words dripping with sarcasm. They pushed themselves too hard, trying to live up to his unreachable standards. The others? He took a deep breath, his eyes far away as if looking at the memory he'd rather leave buried. The remaining 6, including me, were placed in a competition. Tengen paused, his hands clutching into fists at his sides. We were forced to fight each other till death, he continued, his voice tight with bearable, contained anger. Masked so we can know who we were fighting until the end. Can you believe it? My own father turning his own children into weapons and then watching them rip each other apart. You could see the pain in his eyes, a stark contrast to the usual flamboyant personality he donned. Oh, he muttered, feeling a bit of a sudden urge of sadness for him. Tengen exclaimed, trying to push away the memories that threatened to engulf him. It was a brutal test of survival, he said, his voice flat. My father believed that only the strongest would be worthy of carrying on the Uzui name. His gaze then shifted to Kojo's stiff form. It was hell, he continued, his voice anger and clear. Their deaths were the catalyst of my hatred towards him, which is why I left. I have had to leave. He clutched his fist tightly, his knuckles turning white. You reached out a hand, placing it gently on his. He loosened his grip and slipped your fingers between his, giving it a comfortable squeeze. The weight of his words was heavy in the room, and you didn't know what to say to ease his pain. But you knew that sometimes the best thing to do was simply be there. Sorry I asked. Don't be, Tengen said, his voice gruff. It's something I rarely talk about. Helps me remember how I've gotten this far. You released a sigh. I'm surprised you didn't come out a villain, but with an upbringing like that, I wouldn't blame you. Tengen nodded. Yeah, I was messed up, he said with a bitter laugh. But thanks the gods I didn't. After I left, I met Kayaka, and even he was surprised I didn't go full evil, and praised me, he said. Because of him, I used my strength to protect, and after meeting people like Kojo, I found amenity, a bond stronger than the chains of blood, he said earnestly. He then glanced back to you. Kojo is a brother to me, you know, he added, his grin back in place. And if he can have a happy ending, then maybe there's hope for me too, he said, his gaze flickering back to Kojo. Maybe I can find my own happiness amidst the war. You wanted to smile at Tengen's words. The weight of his mission loomed heavy in the back of your mind. You have a mission, don't you? Tengen's smile slowly faded as he nodded. Yeah, I've been called to investigate Yoshiwara. Yoshiwara? As in the red light district? He hummed in admiration, the sound echoing through the quiet room. But for sake of prosperity, I prefer to call it the entertainment district. And it seems there have been reports of suspicious activities, possibly involving demons. It's my duty as a Hashir to sniff them out and slay them, he said. There's also a chance it could be an upper moon. At that, your blood immediately ran cold. The possibility of an upper moon being involved made you worried sick. Kojo had fought and almost lost his life to an upper moon. You didn't want Tengen to face the same fate. No, you hadn't forgot. This is a war to save humanity. But you couldn't help but feel a tinge of fear for Tengen. Not just for him, but the rest of your friends who are putting their lives on the line. The upper moons were not to be trifled with. They were the top tier of demons, almost untouched in their power. Oh, is that so? You muttered, lowering your head slightly to hide your uneasiness. Please be careful, Tengen-sama. You say, your voice laced with genuine worry. Tengen circumcises you, his expression turning serious. He could obviously see the dread in your eyes, reflecting the fear you felt for his safety. He knew exactly what was going through your head at this moment, considering you almost lost your husband. Tengen must have noticed the worry etched on your face before he leans over, placing a reassuring hand on your shoulder. Don't worry, Yin-san. I'll be fine. I've faced tougher opponents than an upper moon, he says with confidence that made you believe him, despite the fear gawking at your insides. But still, you mumble, I can't help it. Kojo. Your words trailed off. Tengen's hand squeezes your shoulder gently. I know how you feel, he said, his voice understanding. The Demon Slayers. This is what we do. We fight for humanity's future, and I promise I'll come back. Idiot, don't make promises you can't keep, you snapped, your eyes brimming with unessenced tears. You didn't want to lose another person you cared about. Not after everything that had happened. Tengen chuckled, petting your head gently. I am the mighty son, Hashira-yen, he reassures you, his voice gentle despite the playful gesture. Asshole, that doesn't mean a thing. Besides, I won't be alone. I have Suma, Makio, and Hina. Huh? Wait, you're taking them with you? You cocked your head like a curious child. Sort of. I'm actually sending each one of them undercover mission in different brothels. Tengen replied. They're as fierce as they are beautiful, and they can handle themselves, he added, his confidence unwavering. A red angry mark comedically appeared on your head at the absurdity of his plan. You dumb peacock. That's a terrible plan. What if they get in trouble? Tengen laughs heartily. Oh, come on. You know my wives have more than just pretty faces. Can't say that word and also can't say that word, Tengen, he says, his grin unwavering. Don't forget my girls are heavily trained kunoichi. They're as sharp as my blades and twice as deadly. You couldn't help but deadpan. Okay, granted, Suma, Makio, and Hinatsuru weren't just eye candy. They were skilled fighters in their own right, but the thought of them going undercover in such a dangerous place was nerve-wracking. It's Tengen-sama, you stuttered, trying to find the right words to express your concern without offending him. Your wives, in a place like that? Don't worry, they'll be fine. This man, so confident, so irritated, so ignorant, really tries not to think about the negative outcome. Honestly, he's like a Kojiro a lot, that way. It's scary. Oh, before I leave, can you do me a solid? Tengen suddenly asked, his expression stiffening to one of hopeful anticipation. What? You blinked, still trying to process the fact that his wives would be venturing into the lion's den. I remembered Code dragging on about your delicious cooking, Tengen said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Could you whip us some of that legendary Kinatsuru ramen of yours? It's the least I can ask before going to hell.